I just wrote something that posted yesterday at The Athletic saying, like, it's not working, guys. We have enough evidence. This has been a disaster. If they can use this latest allegation to get out of the contract, get out of the contract. Cut bait and go. It's time. We've seen enough. And the play on the field has not warranted the headaches Deshaun Watson has caused off the field. And it was funny because this morning I stopped and get a coffee on my way in. A lot of times I got accosted by a guy this morning where I get coffee, an old retired guy. And I use that term playfully because I actually love the interaction. Mm-hmm. And he said, you are a hypocrite because you wanted him here and you defended him and now you want to run him out. And that's fair. Like, I think I'm not going to run from that. Yeah.
I don't think that makes you a hypocrite.
Well,
that's hypocrite's the wrong word.
Well,
you were wrong.
I was wrong. I get what he was saying.
Yeah.
Because I wrote, at the time, he needs to settle these cases. If he wants to play football again, he needs to settle the cases. I wrote that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hide that. Like, that's what I wrote.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to come back and say he's got all these cases against him.
Yeah.
Why isn't he countersuing? He's settling. He's not countersuing. And the point I was making with that is Trevor Bauer was accused. Whether you believe him or not, he was accused. He believes he was wrongfully accused. He sued his accuser for defamation. Johnny Depp sued his ex-wife for defamation when he felt like he was being wrongly accused. Dak Prescott sued his accuser when he felt like he was being wrongly accused. Deshaun hadn't done any of that. Deshaun has written checks instead. He hasn't done any of that. And that's just a side note, but it was just an interesting observation, interaction I had with him. And I enjoyed the back and forth because he's right. I did defend them in going to get him because what they had wasn't good enough. And I know Baker played great on Sunday. If you look at the totality, he's just not good enough as an NFL quarterback. He wasn't when he's here. They needed to make an upgrade at the position. They had a roster that was ready to win, except at the most important position. At the time of the trade, Deshaun appeared to be an upgrade over what they had. It has not turned out that way. Whether it's the injury, whether it's mental, emotional from the last couple of years, whatever it is, it's not working. So it's time for the organization to try and find, we've talked about this before, if it doesn't work this year, you got to come up with an exit strategy. This case, first of all, is significantly different than the other cases. Whether or not you believe it or not, the credibility of the case, that'll be determined by the NFL and by the investigation and by civil court. But what he's being accused of this time is a lot different than what all those other cases are. And that matters. And I've had people say, well, the first 26 cases didn't matter to you, but 27, that's the magic number. Well, if you look at the allegations, this one's a lot different. Now, if it's true or not, that's to be proven later. I think it's ridiculous and irresponsible for the Browns to play him this Sunday without doing any sort of investigation on their own as to the legitimacy of the claims. How can they say that they've looked into this when Kevin comes out hours after the allegations drop and he says he's playing? What? So
Wait, who said they looked into it?
No, I'm saying. They haven't.
Yeah.
Like, so when they traded for him, you know, I've talked to people at the Browns who said we did our due diligence, we looked into it. I know that they talked to Rusty Hard's associates, and they had time. It was March. Like, they had time. They had an entire offseason to get their arms around this and see if they're comfortable with it or not. In this instance, the allegations drop whatever day. Monday, was it Monday that they came out? Tuesday?
It was Monday, correct. Mm-hmm. Monday.
And now Kevin comes out Wednesday and says he's playing. What have you possibly done in 48 other hours to verify any sort of veracity to this? I just think if the NFL is going to interview this woman in 2 weeks, I think he should sit until the NFL talks to her. Wait until you get some sort of evidence, because these are far different allegations than what he was being accused of before. And I'm not justifying or excusing what he was accused of before. But let's just be honest and let's be real about this. The NFL, the people who can play in the NFL is less than 1%. They have a very special, unique set of skills that allow them to do something no one else can do. And in your job, your place of employment, if you are easily replaceable, they're not going to put up with a lot of nonsense. If you bring something very unique, they'll put up with a lot of crap as long as you perform. And the Browns are willing to take on a lot of crap and put up with a lot of crap, provided Deshaun was going to perform. He has not performed. He has not lived up to his end of the bargain, whether it's injury, performance, whatever. He has not justified everything that he has brought onto the organization in terms of baggage, whatever else. We've seen enough. It's time. It's time. And that doesn't mean it's going to happen today. It doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. They have such a mess on their hands with the money that they've pushed ahead on the cap that they have to navigate and figure out. But we've seen enough here. And I'm done. I'm done. I'm over it. It's time to start your exit strategy and move on.
G?
I will say, people think it's, he's done and it's not worth the risk or not worth the headache. That's your personal opinion on that. But where I give pushback is I can't start suspending everybody based on allegations. That's just not the way it works. Like, you come to work, obviously Kevin Stefanski is a football coach. If he has not been put on a commissioner's list, if he has not been convicted, if there's no criminal case, if we're just going on based on a set of allegations. Deshaun said he just heard about it on Monday, right? So the team says, we just heard about him now. So I can't put somebody and suspend them until the league looks at it because a lawyer says this allegedly happened. That's just not the way life works. You look at it, you look at the difference between this case and Mike Hall.
Oh, Mike Hall.
Mike Hall, right? So they put him on it's a protocol, right? It's the commissioner's exempt list, right? There was a criminal case filed. He had to go to court. He was arraigned. That's the process. When you're talking about it from a standpoint of whether or not you're going to put somebody back or hold them back or not let them play based on optics, you can't do that. The NFL is an organization, and obviously they look at the optics. But as I've always said, this is what the lawyer is going to do. This is what this is the cause or the actions of what lawyers do. They try to get things put in the public space. They put it in the media, and then when the media covers it, if it gets enough firestorm, if it gets enough legs and traction, then guess what? Now you got a better chance for people to say, all right, well, listen, let's settle this because we don't want more stuff in the news. So, yeah, when you come out with allegations, I can't suspend people based on because he said, she said, or whatever the case may be. And if you look at his lawyer and his attorney, he came out and said, I can't, maybe I've been too politically correct. Maybe I haven't pushed back enough on some of these claims because at the end of the day, everybody and their mom wanted them to get the cases over with, right? We all said, hey, let's get these things out of the way. Let's concentrate on football. Let's go ahead and pay them, right? So then he pays them. Life moves on. Then another case comes up. Now we are essentially using those same cases that we wanted him to file away as a reason to why we should keep him off the field now. So we can't have it both ways. At the end of the day, either you're going to say that you should pay him and you should fight for your reputation, or you're going to have to just come out and say, well, look, I'm going to make a stance on this one, and I'm going to say take it to trial because obviously paying them off didn't work because now there's more people. So it's a catch-22. Damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? So now this is going to hang over his head for the season, correct?
Probably. Because
now he's not going to pay this individual, or he said he's holding fast to his innocence. So, it's a nasty situation. And I think if Deshaun Watson was playing better football, to be honest, and not naive about the situation, if he was playing better football, I don't think the backlash would be so severe. But since he is playing bad football, obviously, we can all see that he's playing bad football. This is something that's piled on top of that. And most common fans, after a certain extent, they just throw their hands up and they say, listen, I just don't want to hear more about it. I just want to watch football. Like, it may be time to cut bait.
The only thing I would say is I don't think he should be suspended right now. I think he should sit right now until they get more information. You still pay him. He's still getting his money. I just think he needs to sit until they get to the bottom of what's going on because there's no way they've had enough time to investigate whether or not this has been, and if there is no credibility to this, then he should play and he should sue her for defamation.
Well, I guess my question would be, how could the Browns get down to the bottom of it if it's he said, she said?
Well, the NFL is going to investigate this woman and see what her evidence is. See what this videotape is that Tony Busby claims to have. The only thing I'm saying is, for right now, like, you got a triage in the moment. You've got a crisis right now. You've got this thing that came out right now. How do you handle this right this minute? I think you should sit until you get more information. Just until you get more information.
I mean,
and then if you investigate this and you find out you don't think that there's viable claim to it, okay, then you proceed accordingly. But right now they don't have any information one way or the other.
Do you think that's fair to the person being accused of something?
I think he's getting all of his money, and I think he's put himself in this position.
Well,
You have made yourself an easy target, and now you have to deal with the consequences of that. The Browns knew when they acquired him, this was always a possibility that this was going to get messy.
Well, I can't keep piling on just because you made a mistake and you may have put yourself in a situation. I can't compound that mistake in that situation. And I think it's nearsighted a little bit that people think that money equates to everything. Just because a person is rich and they got a lot of money does not mean that they don't deserve due process, that they don't deserve the same benefit of the doubt that everybody here gets. Hey, listen, I might have more money than somebody else out there, but if I'm being accused of something and then I can't work and then I can't do anything and then I got to sit at home and take it, like, I don't think how much money you make should have anything to do with it. And also, I think at the end of the day, the veracity of her claims, I don't think that you can take those claims and because they sound crazy and because the details are salacious, that we then take that word, make it gospel because we're trying to do damage control. At the end of the day, the NFL, you talk about putting yourself in that situation. They put themselves in that situation with Ray Rice and countless other people as well. That's the reason that they are so over the top when you have anything that goes wrong with violence, domestic violence, assault, any of that. So not to say that they don't have any blood on their hands, so to speak, but at the end of the day, I just don't think that you can not even suspend. I don't think you can tell a person based on what somebody says, we're going to sit you down for 2 weeks, and nor should the Players Association.
If in my role, if a woman came forward and accused me of doing the things that were done, that this woman is claiming Deshaun did, I promise you I would be put on administrative leave. Without question, 1,000,000%. There's no discussion about that. You are put on administrative leave until we have the opportunity to investigate the claims.
So shouldn't the league do that, not the team?
Somebody should.
Yeah. I actually don't have a problem with the Browns letting him play. I mostly agree with you besides that. I also talked about this on my podcast. I mean, so you might telling us to hype up my podcast from yesterday. But I'm just busting your balls. It's obviously a very complicated, intricate situation. I am also feeling the way you are, Jason, that this put it over the top for me. There's a variety of reasons why that's the case, even though I know that we don't know that this is true or not.
Right. I'm not saying she's telling the truth. I'm not saying that. I don't know. I'm saying they need to find out.
Yeah, and the problem has become, ultimately, the reason you were accused of being a hypocrite, and that same person would have to accuse me as well, is that the juice isn't worth the squeeze.
That's right.
When, for years, I was always, don't sign bad guys, don't sign bad guys. And eventually, I got to a point a couple of years ago, I was like, this is stupid. There's always going to be a couple of bad guys on every team. If the league is not stopping the guy from playing, why should my team not sign the guy if he can help my team win? And it was always about, oh my God, nobody's going to go to games. It's bad PR. And ultimately, it came to the point where the bad PR really didn't matter. And still, to some degree, it doesn't matter in this situation. If G's right, if Deshaun Watson starts playing well, the conversation is mostly going to go away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. But to this point in his Browns career, we were excited about the Browns, not everybody. You and I were excited. G was excited. Most of us were excited about the Deshaun Watson trade because we thought they were getting a superstar. And we knew, or at least we all thought, that Baker Mayfield was not a superstar. And so it seemed like a no-brainer. Yes, there were some people that didn't want him, either because they love Baker Mayfield or because of what happened off the field. And ultimately, many of us, certainly myself included, felt that even if the stuff that happened off the field was true, the league has made their punishment, he has the right to play. I can separate the person from the player. Okay, let's go, let's play. But to this point, he has been so bad that it's not the aggravation of having to, selfishly for our perspective, of having to talk about this all the time. The aggravation from the fans of having to deal with this all the time, have it negatively affect their football team that they root for.
Can I say something though?
Go, of course.
Like we act like these people are toy soldiers or little army men on a board, bro. Like we have to talk about it, or fans have to deal with it. Like this is people's lives,
of course,
man.
But I understand.
But no, we don't understand, because we're not sitting here having people say we raped them. Understand that, and that's
right.
And so when we say, oh, let's just cut bait and move on and do this, and like it's not fantasy football. It's not toy soldiers on a board. At the end of the day, the same way that I'm talking about Deshaun Watson, Jason just said it. I'm like, no. Why? If he said he didn't do it, why are you suspending him now?
It's not suspending him.
Suspension to me means, why are you not letting him work and be gainfully employed because of an allegation somebody else said?
But he is working and gainfully employed. He's still getting his checks. We're just saying administrative leave is you sit here, keep getting paid until we get to the bottom of this.
So, this is crazy, because I see people all the time that got body cam, go shoot somebody, and they're like, oh, we're going to investigate, but they don't get put on administrative leave. They didn't kill somebody.
Well, sometimes they do.
Usually they do.
But nobody. I'm with you there. Of course.
Like that's. But what I'm saying to you is, like, we act like, and I'm coming from a human perspective. I have I have an issue with certain things. Trevor Bauer's career is over. Just because he drove the drone and you don't like him and he threw the ball over the fence, that aside, when text messages come out saying that these people intentionally tried to say that he raped them and he then had to countersue, right? The fact that Trevor Bauer is in Japan somewhere, and every time Mexico, every time you bring up his name to writers and people, they scoff, they laugh, they jeer. They're never going to do that. That man's life is over. And the fact that those text messages, if he would have never been if he would have never denied it, if he would have never been doing that investigation, if he would have never had them text messages, he would be out of here today. And he still is, and it doesn't matter. My point is this. I'm not about to sit here and, based on what you said, I'm not going to go all over 100% based on your allegations. And then what is the recourse? Because if it's not true, the burden is still on the rich person with the money who is never going to play again. So we should have learned something with Duke lacrosse. We should have. But we haven't learned any of that. Have we? We should have learned something with the Buffalo Bills kicker. Have we? No. In the media, your job is to do this. You get both sides of the argument, right? And in those cases, we stepped over and we put the thumb on the scale and said, oh, we better virtue signal or we might get canceled. Because if you say you got to think about it, then you're the guy that's condoning rape. You're the guy that's condoning this stuff.
Okay, so the Buffalo Bills guy now has a job.
Okay, so he lost 2 years.
Trevor Bauer's life is not ruined. He made millions and millions of dollars.
But again, how do we keep coming back to money?
Yeah.
We sound like we are so enthralled with money that the money that they get is so crazy that we feel that anything that happens to them unjustly is rightfully so, and it doesn't matter because they got money.
I think there's more to the Trevor Bauer story. There's more to it because professional sports have proven time and time again.
Yeah.
If you can help us, we don't care about that stuff. You pay your penance, and we're going to bring you on. And the fact that no one has touched him, there's a lot more to it than, because I agree with you from that instance, he should be back in the league and pitching again. I think there's a lot more to it than what is out there.
All I'm saying is
we don't know that.
And here's the difference. Here's the difference in Deshaun and the Duke lacrosse and everything else. You have now 27 accusers versus 1 or 2, and you have a retired district judge who sat there and listened to the cases put before her and said the NFL cleared its burden. Yes, Deshaun Watson violated the committed sexual misconduct and violated the NFL's policy. So for everyone who says he was never indicted, that's true, but you can't hold on to not indicted and dismiss the fact that a federal district judge said something really wrong went on here.
Okay, so here's my thing. I've always had a problem with against that was you can't tout a federal judge. You can't tout the judge, say that she's the most qualified, say that she's done the due diligence, she knows the court system, she's heard all the facts. She hands down a judgment and you say, we'll decide what the punishment.
Well, I agree with that.
Right, but she still handed down a punishment.
But here's the thing. What I'm saying, though, is you cannot have it both ways. Either you're going to trust the judge's judgment, you put her in a position, you said that you were going to trust what she was going to say, she gave the recommendation,
right.
You stepped in,
well, that's the league. We didn't do it.
But I'm just saying, I'm not saying
but
you.
She found him guilty, essentially.
Actually, listen, she found him violating the league's policy.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So she thought there was sexual misconduct.
So why would you, my point is, if you're going to have a woman judge in this country and you're going to put her on that case because she's a woman, we got a problem with then overstepping women, but because then we'll come in and we'll say,
you're squabbling over the time of the suspension. In her ruling, she said, I am suspending him what I believe to be the maximum that I can under the guidelines that I've been given.
Yeah.
That's why the suspension was what it was. And then you're right. Then the league took it back and said, no, that's not good enough. We need to hit him harder.
And they shouldn't have done that.
I don't disagree with that part at all.
But the bottom line is she still, based on the evidence she saw, thought he was guilty.
Well, here's the thing. What they did is use her optically as a woman judging a case in assault.
But she was the one who was appointed regardless of the... She's the one who's put in that position regardless of if it's sexual assault.
Her ruling was dishonest?
No. Her ruling was what her ruling was.
Yeah.
The dishonest part is saying that you feel like she was the most qualified to handle it, and then you overstep the boundary.
But we've agreed that we think the league was wrong about that. So it still doesn't change the fact, the more important fact, that she found him guilty.
So here's the thing. We could go back and talk about that during that time frame, but at the end of the day, those cases happened, it got litigated, and he got the games that he got.
Yep.
Right.
If I'm him and I'm the lawyer, I'm not going back to court after every single time that, hey, next week, maybe it's the 5th grade girlfriend, right? Maybe next week it's the girl from 6th grade. Maybe
if it's all true, then I got no sympathy.
But hold on, that's the point. You see why you're stepping and one things we're all saying, hey, listen, we don't know if it's true or not. But the
way you're presenting it is if it's all bullshit. You are, G. That's how you're presenting it.
Did I say that? That's
how you're presenting it.
What I said was, I'm not going to suspend him and sit him down because you're leaning on the side of that woman is true and he's false. No, that's the way you're presenting it.
I agreed with you that I wouldn't sit him down.
That's all I'm saying.
But
that's all I started with.
But in the same vein, if I'm the Browns and I could get out of his contract now, I would.
Well, we could argue that conversation.
I mean, that's a football thing.
That's a football. We could argue that, but I'm not gonna. The only problem I had with Jason's statement was, if I'm the Cleveland Browns or I'm Deshaun Watson, no, I'm not going to sit you down for 2 games to figure out if it's true or not. That's the reason we have a process in this thing. It's the reason we have a protocol.
Yeah.
Why do we collectively bargain these things if we're just going to take one-offs based on allegations? That's the only problem I had. If you are a person who said, I'm tired of it, I want the Browns to find a way to get up out of there, I ain't got no problem with that. The dude ain't played well. That's a football conversation. That's a strategy conversation and a financial conversation. My conversation is based on human beings. And no, I'm not going to do something based on optics when I wouldn't do it for anybody. I said the same thing about, to be honest with you, I said the same thing about Brett Kavanaugh. Said the same thing about Donald Trump. I said the same thing about people that I don't even really agree with.
Yeah, everybody should have their due process.
So
Donald Trump is now a convicted felon. He was convicted in the court of law.
And guess what? He's still not sitting down. He is running for president.
Right. Well, he shouldn't be.
So if people got a problem with 80 million people being upset, that
I'm not a hypocrite.
Hold on. Obviously, he didn't have to sit down none.
That's true.
So I want all 80 million people to, if you got a problem with Deshaun Watson playing while they find out, you shouldn't have a problem with somebody who has already been convicted, but is trying out not to throw footballs, but the highest court in the world.
That is completely fair.